Frankie, are you ready to talk about unwelcome conduct? You ready to listen and learn? Okay, here we go. Unwelcome is the first element of a sexual harassment claim, really of any claim of workplace harassment or hostile work environment. And that's the one we're going to cover today. So as a reminder, and I'll try to do this at the beginning of every video, the elements of a sexual harassment claim, and this is the federal law, but pretty much all the state laws too, is unwelcome conduct based on sex that is severe or pervasive, both subjectively and objectively, that causes damage, creates a hostile environment in that it alters the terms and conditions of someone's employment. Those are the elements. So what are the legal requirements for something to be unwelcome? First, before I do that, I just want to remind everybody that a discrimination claim, any civil claim really, can only be based on conduct. It can't be based on speech because that would be a free speech violation. So when you're looking at unwelcome conduct based on things people say, you have to show that it wasn't just words that came out of their mouth, but that it had an effect on the people around them, right? So I don't know whether the Baldoni people will raise a free speech defense or not. Sometimes people do in terms of discrimination. But we're talking about unwelcome conduct, unwelcome action, unwelcome behavior. So there are several things that are generally accepted to be unwelcome in the workplace. That these are things that nobody would want in the workplace. Things like somebody asking about your sex life, somebody showing you sexual imagery or videos, somebody asking about your sexual fantasies, someone touching you in an unwanted way, somebody using stereotypes about a person's sex, right? That's where sexual harassment originally came from. And then sexualized remarks about people's appearance / objectifying people in the workplace. So these are generally agreed upon as things that are, at least at the beginning of the analysis, unwelcome. And I've had people ask me, like, what about sex workers? No, even sex workers will say before they engage in their work, here are the things that are okay and here are the things that aren't. So no matter what kind of workplace it is, these are things that are generally agreed upon to be unwelcome unless there is some other conversation that occurs. A couple of things to keep in mind. You can sexually harass someone of the same sex, right? We're going to get to based on sex next. But unwelcome conduct does not just have to be conduct towards the opposite sex. It can be conduct towards the same sex that you are. So if you hear the things I just listed as being potentially unwelcome in the workplace, you'll see some of those reflected in Lively's complaint, right? I think she's got 4 main things. She's got the improvised biting and sucking of the lip without the intimacy coordinator. She's got the dancing scene where she says he improvised and went out of character. The birthing scene, which is a whole bunch of things like bringing his friend in as the doctor. It was chaotic. The outfit, all of that. And then adding this virginity losing scene for young Lily. So you could see how those could fall into things like sexualizing somebody's appearance. The birthing video that she said she thought was porn could be sexual imagery. Talking about porn could definitely fall into unwelcome conduct. That's talking to people about their sex life, talking to people about sexual fantasies. So for a threshold matter, these are the types of things, and her lawyers know this, these are the types of things that people often say are unwelcome. But that is not the end of the analysis, because the law is very, very clear at the federal level that whether conduct is unwelcome for purposes of a sexual harassment claim is based on all of the circumstances. I'm sure you've all heard it, lawyers love it, totality of the circumstances. So what is the whole context of this situation? And that can be, what is the whole context of this incident, or what is the whole context of the workplace in general, or both. And context can help and context can hurt. But in the end, most of the time, whether something is unwelcome is going to come down to a credibility issue between the person who claims it was and the person who claims it wasn't, which in this case is going to be Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, she's going to say it was unwelcome. She already has. She's alleged it was unwelcome, and he's saying, no, it wasn't. So does the fact that these two people, we have seen texts that let's assume that they're real for now. Does the fact that these two people have engaged in other communications with each other where they were provocative or using sexual type innuendos and using sexual wording, does that hurt an argument that when certain things were done, when sort of narrow list of things were done, that was not unwelcome because that was the circumstances of their relationship? Yes. Yes, he can make that argument. He can make the argument that, look, this is the way that she talked to me. This is the way that I talked to her. And frankly, if anybody was saying unwelcome things, it was her and not me. So yes, that is an argument that's available to him. On the other hand, she has the argument to make, and women make this argument all the time, and I think they should, that just because we engaged in like a flirty, provocative conversation on Tuesday doesn't mean that you get to come into work on Thursday and say I look sexy and have me not be upset by that. So again, it's going to come down to the context and the circumstances and ultimately the credibility. So here's what's going to happen when Blake Lively gets deposed on this issue. Friedman or whoever they have depose her, they might have a woman do it. That sometimes helps. But they are going to show her every single communication she had with him from the beginning of pre-production all the way until the strike. All of those text messages and emails that we think that we have seen. And he's going to go, was this unwelcome? Was this unwelcome? How about now? Was this unwelcome? Was this unwelcome? Was this unwelcome? If this was unwelcome, how come it's not in your complaint? This one was okay. Okay, but was this unwelcome? He's going to do that and try to create some sort of pattern to show that she is picking and choosing what does and doesn't constitute unwelcome behavior. He's going to do the same thing when it comes to these 4 incidents that happened on set that she's using as the basis for her sexual harassment claim. He's going to say in like the unscripted moment, well, was it unwelcome for him to talk to you when he walked in? Was it unwelcome when he handed you the piece of paper? Was it unwelcome when you took off the robe? Was it right? So he's going to push her to characterize every single second of their relationship as to what was welcome and what was unwelcome, to try to show that this was just part and parcel of how they interacted with each other. And what Blake Lively's lawyers are going to prepare her to do is say, some of it was fine, but some of it stepped over the line and it got worse over time. And by the time we got to late May, it was really becoming a problem. Because I think what they're arguing is pervasive and not severe. But just on the element of unwelcomeness, there's an argument on both sides, I think a good argument on both sides, about whether the things he said or did allegedly were unwelcome by her. And that's just element number 1. That's not even getting to all of the other things. So I hope that's helpful. Let me know what questions you have about unwelcome behavior, and I will try to answer them.